What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the Madden official ratings info that you need to know, and we're going to talk about top 5 guys at each position and things like that. So we did get the rookie ratings a few days ago. I posted that on the channel. If you have not seen that yet, I will link it below in the comments and in the description for you to check out. All of the rookie ratings are out there. Now, if you are new to the channel, of course, make sure to subscribe, turn the bell on, as I will be dropping Madden gameplay in a few weeks. I know I keep saying that in every video, but just want everybody to know that it is coming in a few weeks. Me and some other guys will be dropping that gameplay for you. But today we're going to talk about what you need to know about the ratings. So I keep getting asked about, when are the ratings dropping and this and that. So on the 8th, July 8th, which is this coming Monday, they're going to be revealing all of the 99 overall players, same as they did last year. They're going to unveil those guys first, which will probably be, anywhere from like 5 to 7 guys. That's what it was last year. Might be a little bit less this year because they did spread the ratings out. On the 15th, the following Monday, is when they're going to release everybody's ratings. But for today, just like I did last year, let's speculate on who the top 5 guys will be at each position. Last year, I got a good bit of them right, was wrong about a few of them. Definitely drop yours below as well. Who do you think is going to be top 5 at whatever position? So first, of course, we start with quarterback, which is, the most important position in football. So I'm going to also pull up Madden 19 here so we can look at the last roster update to see where the players were ranked, and we can decide, is this going to be what we think the top 5 is going to be for Madden 20, or will some of these be changed? So when you look at QBs, last year, the last update, we have Brady, Mahomes, Rivers, Breeze, and Rodgers in the top 5, which is very interesting because I think when you say Rivers, he had a great year last year, but I think a lot of people usually won't consider him a top 5 QB in terms of rating. Now, Brady, Mahomes absolutely are going to be in that top 5 for sure. Rodgers definitely going to be there for sure. He always is. Now, Drew Brees is interesting because he was an MVP candidate for a good bit of the season last year. He kind of slowed down in the second half of the year, but I do think he's still going to be a top 5 guy. It just seems hard to not have him there. So really what it comes down to for that 5th spot is really going to be Rivers, Wilson, and I do think Andrew Luck is going to be in contention there as well. I'm going to say it's going to be Russell Wilson, though, which I feel like on that outside looking in at number 6 and 7, it's definitely going to be Rivers and Luck. But that 5th spot is just tough. I think the top 4 are pretty solidified with Mahomes, Brady, Breeze, and Rodgers. That 5th spot, you really have those 3 guys you could put there. It is kind of hard to see Rivers going from being the 3rd best to out of the top 5, but they might factor in some age with that as well. I mean, you could always do that with Breeze and Brady as well, but I don't know. I just think I'm going to go with Russell Wilson sneaking into that 5th spot. Going over to running backs is interesting here. So last update, we have Gurley, McCaffrey, Bell, Elliott, and Kamara. Now, obviously, Melvin Gordon just always seems to be on that outside looking in. He's definitely one of the top backs in the league, but just never quite rated as a top 5 guy. But then we have Barkley, who at the last roster update was ranked as the 9th best running back in Madden. Now, most consider him to already be a top 5 back. Some would argue he could be considered the best back in the league. That's just how good he looked as a rookie. But I don't think they're going to put him in the top 5 because typically they don't put a second-year guy in the top 5 at the position. Kamara wasn't a top 5 guy at the beginning of Madden 19, and he was rookie of the year before. Granted, Barkley did have a better season as a rookie, but Kamara was kind of like in that 6 to 10 range. They didn't have him in the top 5. He wound up getting in the top 5 over the year, which I think will happen for Barkley. So what I'm going to say is I think Gurley, Bell, and Elliott for sure are going to be 3 in the top 5 that you can't really argue. I think they're going to go with McCaffrey, seeing as he's rated as the 2nd best back in the game at the last roster update. I don't think he's going to go from that to out of the top 5, and I do think Kamara will round it out in the top 5, and I think you have Gordon and Barkley are going to be at that 6th and 7th spot on the outside looking in. Wide receivers is an easy one to me. I don't see this changing. This is the consensus top 5 in the league right now by pretty much everybody. Brown, Jones, Hopkins, Beckham, and now Michael Thomas. That is the consensus top 5. Obviously, there's a ton of other guys in this range here that are good. Keenan Allen's so good. AJ Green is really good, but he's always hurt. Mike Evans is so good. Thielen, Adams, Tyreek Hill. Those are all good guys, but this is going to be the top 5, I think, again this year. I don't think this is going to change. It'll change throughout the year with updates, but coming into the year, this is what the top 5 is going to be. Now, tight ends is interesting because obviously Gronk retired. The #1 guy every year, he's out now. So Kelsey, Ertz, and Kittle, I think, are the top 3 without a doubt in my mind. Those are the 3 best tight ends in the league. They're all phenomenal. I think Delaney Walker will still stay in that top 5 spot. And then the 5th spot's tough because you got Greg Olsen. He's obviously getting older. He's regressing a little bit, but he's still a good player. But if you take him out, I don't really know who else you put up here. Obviously, Ebron had a great year, but I don't think he's going to make that big of a jump from being where he is here to the top 5. Jared Cook had a career year. Now he's with the Saints, so he's probably going to be projected to even be better this year. But again, I don't know if he jumps into the top 5. So I think Greg Olsen is still going to be that guy. You're going to have Ertz, Kittle, Kelsey, Walker, and Greg Olsen in the top 5. I'm not going to do offensive linemen because that's just going to make this video way too long. Now, for this next one, I'm just going to do edge rushers because the truth is, you've got defensive ends, you got left end, right end, but then you also got these outside linebackers, and a lot of those guys are edge rushers. This is actually something EA really needs to update. The terminology for left end, right end, and these like outside linebackers that pass rush, it's just old terminology. They're called edge rushers now, and that's what they need to change in the game. So I think top 5 edge rushers for sure. Watt's going to be in the top 5. Absolutely, Khalil Mack and Von Miller. Those 3 guys are solidified. So at that point, who else is left? You got Kerrigan, you got D Ford, really good. I don't think they're jumping from where they are here into the top 5. If you go over here, you've got Clowney, who you could make a case for, but I don't think he's going to be in the top 5 either. Then if you come to the defensive ends, you've got Cam Jordan, you've got Campbell, you've got Bosa, you've got DeMarcus Lawrence, you've got Aaron Donald, I believe, is going to be labeled a DT in Madden 20 and not a right end, so he doesn't count. You got Garrett, you got Graham, you got Chris Jones. I think he's also going to be a DT in the game. I could be wrong about that one, but there's just so many good guys. So you got Watt, you've got Miller, you've got Mack. Those guys are solidified. I think Cam Jordan's still going to stay in that top 5 because if you look, he's in the top 5 at the last update, right? Not counting Aaron Donald because he's not at that position. And Cam Jordan has just kind of been a staple of being kind of a top 5 guy for the past couple years, so I don't think he's going to fall out of that spot. So then you're really kind of at a toss-up between Campbell, Bosa, Lawrence, and Myles Garrett, and it's really tough, but I think it's going to be Myles Garrett. It just seems like he's a guy that gets rated pretty highly, not that he doesn't deserve it. So I think Myles Garrett's going to round out the edge rushers, and then right on that outside looking in, you're going to have, obviously, Campbell, Bosa, Lawrence, Brandon Graham, and Clowney. But there's just so many good edge rushers now. It's just, honestly, somebody's got to be snubbed when you're talking top 5. Defensive tackles, obviously, Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, those 2 are solidified. Those guys are locked in. And then it gets kind of tough because you got Harrison, you got Atkins, you got Kenny Clark. Michael Pierce is very underrated. I don't think McCoy is going to make it into the top 5 anymore, but DeForest Buckner is a guy that I could see jumping up. He's one of the best DTs in the league. Doesn't really get talked about him a lot. Had 12 sacks last year, but I think Damon Harrison is going to stay in the top 5. Now, he doesn't have an X-Factor ability. He has a regular ability, I believe, but he doesn't have an X-Factor, at least according to the beta, and the X-Factors are usually the best of the best, so that's something that could maybe be a thing, but there's not a lot of X-Factors at DT. I think Fletcher Cox and Aaron Donald are the only ones. Geno Atkins might have it as well. So I'm going to go Donald, Cox, Damon Harrison, definitely Geno Atkins, and I think I'm going to go Kenny Clark, and I think that guy at the 6th spot on the outside looking in is going to be Buckner. I think he's actually going to jump. If DeForest Buckner wound up being in the top 5, definitely would not disagree with that at all, but when it comes down to like him and Kenny Clark, they're both so good, and Clark being rated higher at the last roster update, I don't think Buckner's going to jump him there, so that's why I'm going with that. Now we'll go middle linebackers. So I think this is going to stay pretty much the same. Kuechly and Wagner, obviously 1A, 1B. They're just amazing. Deion Jones definitely going to stay in the top 5. CJ Mosley, I believe, is going to stay in the top 5 now with the Jets. Shazier, I don't know if Shazier is going to be in the game or not. I haven't really been following what's going on with him. He's probably not going to play again, but I don't know if he's like officially said that he's not going to play again. So I don't know if he's going to be in the game or not. I don't know how that's going to work, but he's definitely not going to be rated top 5. So then you're really just looking at pretty much Jalen Smith, Miles Jack, Bernardrick McHenry. A lot of these guys, Martinez, are all good. I think it's going to be Jalen Smith, though. He just had such a good year, and there's always, obviously, that part about the one of the ratings guy being a big Cowboys fan. I don't know how much that really affects the Cowboys' ratings, but it just, a lot of things make sense for Jalen Smith to be in that 5th spot here after the year he just had. So I think he rounds out the top 5 there. Cornerbacks is a tough one. There's so many good cornerbacks. So Ramsey and Gilmore, I think for sure, are going to still come in as the top 2 guys. I mean, Gilmore is just playing so ridiculously good with the Patriots. Ramsey, obviously, still the best in the league. I think Peterson is obviously a lock, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. He will not have an X factor, though, but that's because he's got suspended for violating the drug policy, so they can't, like, I think further, like, promote guys like that, so he's not going to have an X factor, but definitely going to still be a top 5 cornerback. I think Richard Sherman, he has an X factor, so he's going to be in the top 5 as well. And now that 5th spot is just tough because you got Byron Jones, who just had a great year. You've got Casey Hayward. You've got Chris Harris. I think Darius Slay is going to be rated a little bit higher up than this as well. But according to the beta of these guys, Hayward didn't have any abilities. Chris Harris had an X factor and Byron Jones had an X factor. So they're the only other 2 cornerbacks left that had X factors. So I think it's going to be one of them. Again, I'm just going to lean Byron Jones because, you know, there's that kind of that cowboy favoritism a little bit. And I think Harris is going to be in that 6th spot on the outside looking in. Now, safeties, I'm just going to combine free safety and strong safety together. So, off top, Earl Thomas, Harrison Smith, those are the top 2 guys, without a doubt. They both have X factors. The only other safety I believe that had an X factor in the beta was Eddie Jackson. And he is a top 5 safety at the last roster update as well. So I think he's going to be in that 3rd spot for sure. Eddie Jackson, just a monster. Now, 4 and 5 is tough because there's no other X factor safeties in the game. Which is kind of weird because I felt like Jamal Adams, maybe even Malcolm Jenkins should have been X factors. Jamal Adams does have a actual superstar ability. He's just not an X factor player. But definitely Jamal Adams is a top 5 safety, and I think he will be rated as such. And then that 5th spot is tough. When you look, you've got Byard, who's really good. Obviously, McCourty. Micah Hyde, I think, is going to jump up quite a bit. Eric Berry, I don't even think is still on a team at this point. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and give it to Malcolm Jenkins because he's a top 5 at the last update, and it just makes sense. I don't think that Byard or McCourty or like Hyde is going to knock him out of the top 5. So Thomas, Smith, Eddie Jackson, Jamal Adams, and Malcolm Jenkins. And I think, honestly, at that 6th, 7th spot, you're probably going to see Byard and maybe even Micah Hyde. I think Micah Hyde's going to jump up because he actually does have a superstar ability in the game. Not an X factor, but he is a superstar. So I think he's going to be up there as well. But that's my list. We're not going to do kickers because kickers aren't people. And that's going to be it. So let me know your top 5 below. And as always, I will see you guys next time.